So tonight's speaker is Ryan O'Connor. He's the executive director of Paddler Co-op and a passionate paddler and explorer. Since his first river trip on the Canoe with his family as a young child, his love for whitewater and adventure in the outdoors has led him to the pursuit of a career in the outdoor industry as a whitewater canoe and kayak instructor and wilderness guide. Ryan's journey has brought him to rivers all over the world, including Canada, US, Mexico, Uganda, in boat, canoe, and kayak, and he now calls the Madawaska Valley home. Ryan holds certification as an advanced moving water canoe and kayak instructor and instructor trainer, a river rescue instructor, and the head instructor at Paddler Co-op. He recently completed the 2023 Freestyle Kayak Nationals and won silver in the 2019 Open Canoe Whitewater Slalom North American Championships. So welcome, Ryan.
Woohoo! Thanks, Gary. Much appreciated. Thanks for having me on. And I'd just like to thank everybody for showing up this evening. Really appreciate you taking the time to share your evening with me. I hope it's informative. I hope it's valuable. And if nothing else, I hope you can get a little bit of a taste of the excitement for the river and the upcoming spring paddling season that I'm starting to feel. Even though there's a blanket of white outside, we just got a fair amount of snow up here in the Madawaska Valley. But I guess what I want to sort of address maybe before we like jump into everything is that I'm going to be talking about Paddler Co-op this evening, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the programs and things that are going on. But I just want to recognize that like the place that I call home and the place that the co-op calls home, the Madawaska Valley, is the traditional territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe First Nation, and that like we recognize the enduring presence of First Nations and recognize the fact that the clean water that we have to paddle in, that we all love to spend our free time or maybe our professional time in, is thanks to the stewardship and forward-thinking mentality that these First Nations and inhabitants have had, and that we're on unceded and unsurrendered territory. So I just want to acknowledge that, recognize it, offer gratitude, and in the spirit of that sense of stewardship, I think there's a strong theme that ties into sort of what the future of paddling could look like here in the Madawaska Valley, which is going to be a strong theme with the presentation here this evening. Gary, is it fair for me to hop right into screen sharing at this point? Like, I guess what I'm wondering is, will I be visible while I'm screen sharing, or do I like disappear?
Yeah, you should be. People at the top right corner of Zoom, you have kind of three options. If you click on a thing called View, you have the thing called Speaker View, a Gallery View, which is this, or Immersion or something. So try those things, jog it around, whatever you like. And I think the speaker ends up on the side or on the top or inside the thing. It depends on your Zoom and which one you select. So everybody
Speaker
has an
view
option.
should give you the slides on the one hand and the speaker on the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah, I think that's
Okay,
how it works.
great.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I would love to. Is there a hand raising function in? Oh yeah, there's
Yes, there is
the reaction button.
reactions.
Okay,
If
great.
people
Yeah.
click on reactions, they can raise a hand, thumbs up, whatever.
Nice. I would love to just get a sense of the crowd here. This is awesome. I see so many folks. I see some familiar faces. I see some unfamiliar faces. I would just love to see by a raise of hand, who's been paddling so far this year in the crowd.
Okay, now I gotta find the button. Oh,
We got a handful of eager beavers. Oh, and Chris in the chat says for sure. Nice. Okay, that's really fun. You can lower your hand. Another question, I guess, is who has ever paddled on the Madawaska River? Curious to know who. Raise your hand if you've ever paddled on the Mad. Nice. Oh, okay. The looks like quite a majority here. That's awesome. Okay, raise your hand if you are predominantly sort of a lake tripper or a wilderness tripper, not on the river, more of a flat water expedition style paddler. Nice, Robert James last week. Cool. Okay, so we've got a selection of lake paddlers. Raise your hand if you're either would consider yourself to be someone who enjoys paddling moving water, or aspire to begin paddling moving water. Nice. Oh, I see. I see your hand raised there, Eddie. That's awesome. Cool. Okay, lots of folks. Well, this is great. So I think this evening's presentation is going to be quite relevant. So I'll just give you an overview of what we'll be talking about. My goodness, wow, Mike McClellan from Tennessee.
yeah.
What a delight. So essentially, I'm here to present a little bit about sort of what the Paddler Co-op is, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of where we're at right now at this point in time, and then I'm also going to talk about like moving forward and looking down the line, where we aspire to be as an organization with the people that we serve. And then we'll have the opportunity to do sort of a Q&A afterwards. I'll be talking specifically about the co-op's programming, its history, and then the sort of crux that we're at right now, which is the sale of the property that the Paddler Co-op is located on the Madawaska River, and our fundraising efforts to purchase that property, secure it, and then the goal to sort of permanently secure access for paddlers and recreationalists in Palmer Rapids. And then we'll have the chance to kind of discuss a little bit more. And I also really love talking about paddling, so I will try to keep that to a little bit of a minimum and save it for the comments or question period afterward. But without further ado, I will begin to share my screen with folks, and would love it if you all can just give me a little bit of a. Yep, I can see that if you can see my screen.
Looks good.
Looks good.
Okay, awesome. I've still got my hand up, but I think it's going to have to stay up here for the next little while. Cool. So I'm here to discuss Paddler Co-op and sort of the future of the co-op and where it stands. So to give you folks a little bit of a history, I guess, about Paddler Co-op, the co-op was founded in 1997 by a group of paddlers who cared about building a stronger paddling community. And they did so out of the mindset of recognizing that the existing structures for sort of whitewater recreation and tourism were largely sort of the empirical kind of classic top-down owner at the top, and the guides and grunts doing the work to feed the machine at the bottom, getting paid a bit of a pittance and doing it for the love of it. And the whole notion was actually to sort of turn that on its head and say, well, what if there was an opportunity where we could create an organization that was actually, the power lies in the people's hands, and the people's, or the members, the membership of the co-op had the power, and that kind of then fed down to leadership and the sort of management, as opposed to it being the other way around. So they founded the co-op as a not-for-profit in 1997. And 27 years later, we're still here, which is pretty remarkable. And our mission is still the same. It's still to build a stronger paddling community. And we're guided by our values, which are community, access and inclusion, and a sense of responsibility, meaning doing the right thing. You can think of it almost as integrity. And I think all of those things are partly what kind of ties us together here, and partly what is the driving force behind our project. So My little arrow is there. It is. You guys see the second slide? Nice. Okay, great.
Yep.
Cool. So since 2003, we've been renting a property on the shores of the Madawaska River. That was actually originally purchased by one of the co-founders of the co-op and a longtime board member. And for 20 years, we had a great relationship renting, and now the co-op's property is for sale. What we've realized is with this property being listed for sale, not only is the paddling school, the sense of community and everything that the co-op stands for, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment, at risk, but in the grander scheme of things, the Madawaska River is, at least half the people I think at the start sort of raised their hand that they had paddled on the Mad. It's the gateway for thousands and thousands of people to moving water paddling and whitewater expeditions or river tripping. And it's also a historical, travel route for thousands and thousands of years, that First Nations have used going up and down rivers. And then, of course, I'm sure many of you have either learned to paddle or paddled on the Mad. And so we're at risk of losing access to the river and then the affordable programs that the co-op provides for the future generations. It's not so bad for us right now because, we have other rivers that we know we can go to. But in time, if you've ever paddled in America, you'll see how busy the access points and the wild spaces that we have here will become. And as more people move to the wilderness sort of areas and rural areas, those access points become more and more valuable. So we're at risk of losing the place, and our solution is to raise funds to purchase it, to secure it. So we want to guarantee future river access, and we want to continue building community. We want to continue providing accessible and affordable programming, training. And then, of course, as a not-for-profit, we're, a mission-first organization. We really focus on providing a safe space for any and all people to come and participate. And so we run a social enterprise where certain programs are kind of at fair market value and other programs are at highly subsidized market value. And one of those examples is disability programming, as well as our youth programming on the more subsidized end of things. So sort of all of that's at stake, and we're seeking to raise funds in order to do so. So talking about the co-op itself, for those who haven't been, if you've ever paddled Palmer Rapids, we're just downstream, literally like a 5-minute paddle from the bottom of the rapids. We're right on the shoreline, where we've got our 2.7 acre site with a boathouse, office building, room for gear storage, and then a beautiful campground among old growth pines. It's pretty scenic. We're also very close to Algonquin Park, about a 2 hours drive from Ottawa, 3.5 hours drive from Toronto. And the nearest center, Barry's Bay, is about 25 kilometers away. So it's a very rural area, but we're also conveniently located right at the top of the Lower Mad. So I don't know if folks can see my arrow on here or not, but just underneath where it says Barry's Bay here is the dam, the Kaministig Lake Dam or the Palmer Rapids Dam, which kind of denotes the start of the Lower Madawaska. So not only is Palmer Rapids a popular training spot because it's got really awesome class 1 and 2 safe rapids and 3 in higher flows, it's got something for kind of beginners through to intermediate or advanced paddlers, but it's also the start of a 41-kilometer section of paddleable class 1 to 3 whitewater known as the Lower Mad, which is kind of a typical 3 or 4 day wilderness canoe trip. At the co-op, we offer a number of different sort of adventures, programs, and services. And like I said, this is all under the kind of context of a social enterprise. So probably the most common thing, and what maybe some of you have actually related to the co-op, is our standard whitewater training and certification. So we teach people how to paddle in moving water, and we teach people how to stay safe and how to enjoy the river. And we've been doing that for, like I said, 27 years. So there's about, we estimate 10,000 paddlers, probably more, that have come through the co-op since then. And of those, thousands of kids, we're talking like 3,000 plus youth who have been a part of our youth programming. We've got a full ladder program from age as young as 7 all the way up to 18 years old on the kayak stream of things, where they'll do a variety of different rivers on a traveling kayak camp, exploring, waterfalls, freestyle, and different runs, sort of the limits of their comfort zone. And then on the canoe tripping side of things, they'll do a 2-week trip across Algonquin Park from the northwest side all the way through the Petawawa River system to Lake McManus on the east side. And then, of course, we have our flagship event, Palmer River Fest, which I would cordially like to invite everybody to this May 17th, 18th, and 19th. We offer highly subsidized clinics during the weekend for paddlers, beginners through expert. And then there's vendors, there are events, there's a raffle, there's a live band, actually several live bands and performances throughout the day on Saturday, as well as Friday night. And this year we're actually introducing a new theme to Friday night, which is a trip presentation in the boathouse, which is going to be pretty exciting. And then we also offer camping, rentals, and shuttles. So for folks who just want to come to the river and get on the water with themselves, their family, or their friends, many people will come and just camp at the co-op and then paddle from our dock kind of straight to the rapids, or will head down the lower Mad and come to the co-op for outfitting for their trip or shuttle needs for their trip. So we try to serve the community in as large a way as possible. And of course, we're doing so, as a cooperative. So we're actually governed by a volunteer board of directors made up of the membership, and of which I'm one. And I'm also the executive director. So I'm actually the only director that's a paid staff person. So I work for the co-op year round and have been doing so for about 4 years, and working for the co-op totally about 12 years now at this point. So again, I mentioned we serve a lot of different user groups, and specifically, like in the spirit of building community, we focus on investment in community, which is for young people. We focus on making sure that there's a space for young paddlers to be able to get into the sport, to develop their skills, and to have a safe learning opportunity to sort of step outside of their comfort zone, challenge themselves, and grow within the sport, and as individuals as well. So last year we've just been kind of trying to pilot a tracking system. Last year we helped over 1,100 young paddlers gain access to the river, and that's through both our specific programming. So again, the youth courses and school groups. We use a metric called paddler days, which is if everybody were to show up on one day, how many people would there be? And so we had 700 paddler days of our youth programs and school groups coming through the co-op this year, and several hundred more on top of that are partnerships through different camps, clubs, and associations like Camp Erewhon or Camp Candelore that come and use the co-op as a launching point facility for their programming. And so we also want to continue being able to provide some kind of stats and data about how the diversity of the paddling community is developing. And so we are, at the same time as sort of running our typical social enterprise, continue to focus on sort of underserved and underrepresented groups, including like the BIPOC community, LGBTQ2+, folks with disabilities, local paddlers to this area, because a lot of people actually travel to come to the MAD. And we want to focus on having, young folks in the region being able to paddle and also learn how to become career professionals on the river. And then of course, seniors. So we're going to be tracking those metrics as we sort of move forwards. So last year, the co-op had 584 members. And a member is 18 plus. It costs $16 to join the co-op. You have to renew with an annual membership fee. But what that actually does is that allows you the opportunity to vote at the annual meeting and have a real say in how the co-op is run. Again, that sort of member-focused sort of power in the people's hands. Our members are everything here, basically. The board is elected by members. The board is nominated from members, and the members steer the organization. So the board sets the vision. It's my task as the executive director to execute on that vision and lead the staff team to provide the services and programming in the way that the members are looking for it. We have a fairly large staff team that kind of balloons throughout the paddling season. So last year we had 29 staff employed by the co-op, and it's kind of fascinating actually. I'm just curious here. Did anybody see recently, like in the last couple months, that kayaker that was going off of like an ice waterfall? It was like a glacier in, I think it was Norway or something like that. Can anybody raise their hands or mention in the chat if they've seen that? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Okay, it sounds like it might be a maybe not, but it's interesting because his name is Aniel Sarasolsis, and he's probably one of the most premier sort of whitewater kayaking athletes there is in the world right now. And he actually taught at the co-op back in 2010. He spent his summer season teaching here, which is kind of fascinating. And he's just an example of other paddlers and instructors that have gone on to teach, guide, and compete around the world. So when it comes to sort of the future of the co-op, we've done some really phenomenal things, and we've had 27 years of a great legacy. And I'm sure if you ask anybody about the co-op, they're likely to say it's a great place, it's a friendly place. The people are awesome, and it's because we do what we love, and it's because we do so not out of the undertone driving need to make money. It's because we're doing it because we want to make sure that this place is around for everybody. And so the threat of our facility being for sale is actually kind of a major concern. And when we discussed with our membership sort of what that looks like and the stakeholders of the co-op, the most concerning thing was losing access and losing that space and place of home. For many people, when they come to the co-op, they liken it to sort of almost like a coming home vibe. It's like a home away from home. And our goal is to essentially preserve that in perpetuity. So for right now, what we're doing is we're raising funds. The property costs $700,000 to purchase. We've already raised to date $138,000. Of that, $50,000 has come from the co-op's reserve fund, which we've worked really hard to be able to kind of keep aside in the last 4 years. And the balance has come from folks like yourself, members, paddlers, people who care, people who maybe have had a connection to the co-op. A lot of people have, and some who maybe haven't, and who said, you know what, it's important for as paddlers or recreationalists or conservationists that we keep these spaces wild spaces for people to be able to access them in perpetuity. And so we're undertaking this fundraiser. The deadline is June 1st. We've had some really phenomenal success so far, but we still have quite a long ways to go. And after we hit our goal of $250,000, which will allow us to finance a mortgage that is manageable within our budget and cash flow for being able to continue sort of paying off the property as we go, we not only secure a vital access point to Palmer Rapids, of which there are only 3, and none of them are public. 2 of them are private, one owned by Ontario Power Generation, which many of you might have originally, as myself, thought that the MNR owned Pine Point. But it turns out as of last year that access point is actually owned by Ontario Power Generation. And they've actually recently put up signs saying it's private property. Members of the public can use it under the following conditions: no camping, no garbage, etc. But if those conditions are violated, access will be revoked. And they hosted actually in Barry's Bay a few weeks back sort of an information session about the water levels and about the dam. And we heard from one of the people who's actually the land manager for that space that there's nothing wrong with the way things are going at Pine Point right now. But if people camp there, if they leave garbage, and if they light fires, there will be posts up in those driveways like that. And that will be the end of our ability to access that space. Across the river is the Jessup's Campground, which many of us have likely also been to, known and loved. And it is also a private property. And frankly, when it comes to private property, as a paddling community, we don't have much assurance that there will be that our needs as a user group will be taken into consideration when that property is up for sale, or ownership or management of that property changes hands. And so with not only the kind of need to preserve the co-op, but also with sort of longer vision of realizing that this vital learning ground that, I'm talking 10,000 people just in the co-op's programming, but there's likely another 20, 30, 50,000 that have come through the co-op, or sorry, that have come through Palmer Rapids and the lower Madawaska, and paddled or learned how to paddle there. That could all be gone. Like those lands are private, and that access can be revoked. So we're taking a stand here to say, well, we want to preserve the co-op, but we also want to preserve a public access point forever. And so our vision is beyond fundraising to just finance the property in this phase right now. We want to then purchase the property, and we also then want to establish a fund to be able to support the property, so that even if the co-op down the line is not in existence, and the organization is gone, or the business folds, or whatever happens, that space will be preserved for paddlers forever. So we're really trying to lay the foundation. We're kind of looking like 50, 100 years down the line, and trying to make sure that in Palmer Rapids we'll have access. And so as a result of this, I'm likely just going to kind of skip some of these. We've got different level donations and sponsorship. So for corporate sponsors, of which the Wilderness Canoe Association has expressed interest in this, we have different level packages that we're looking to, and we're soliciting for donations. And we've got some really awesome sort of recognition and in-kind valuable opportunities that we can offer for those donations. I would encourage anybody here, if what I'm saying is resonating with you, and if the importance of preserving a river access point and a not-for-profit paddling community and cultural hub is important, and you happen to know or be associated with business that would be interested in sponsoring our initiative, we would love to chat. But besides sponsorship, we have opportunity for sort of general sponsorship here. There's a title sponsorship where folks can have naming rights on different buildings, on campsites, on the co-op van, for example, different areas like that. We also are asking folks for just their individual donations. And what's kind of interesting is that the donations that we've received so far are largely made of $200 to $500 amounts. There's a chunk that's sort of like $1,000 and above, and there's a chunk that's like $100 and below. But our median donation is actually sitting at around $215. So it's folks who are saying that, a tank of gas, or night out at the restaurant, or a couple nights out at the restaurant, or a night in a hotel. Yeah, you know what? I can do without that right now because this is an important thing. And it's truly remarkable because we've already raised $88,000 through the power of the community, and we're now rolling out sort of our corporate sponsor package. So we have a whole bunch of. I'm just going to kind of quickly zip through this. This is mostly for the commercial sponsorship tier. But the other thing that we're looking for as well is if folks don't have cash, they can offer in-kind donations. So we have Palmer River Fest, which is our flagship event at the end of May that I mentioned earlier on. And we're going to be hosting raffles and silent auctions at Palmer Fest in order to sort of continue raising funds, as well as having there's actually a benefit concert for those in the Toronto area in Markham on the 21st of April. One of our board members, Paul Minge, is going to be playing some original tunes. I'll be giving a talk as well at the event, and we're going to be raising funds for the co-op there through a little bit of a concert. If anybody has any ideas, we'd love to connect. We'd love to talk about what we can do for you or your family or your business. And if you have other ideas for how we can get to our goal, or how you can help us get to our goal, we'd love to chat about that. Just wanted to kind of share a little bit about what some folks have said about the co-op sort of so far. And I think this top left one here by Marilee, this testimonial, really sums it up well. She says, Paddler Co-op is the best in the business. My son has done a 2-day course. He's attended Palmer Riverfest and participated in both the Shred and Stoked camps. All have been top-notch programs. Skill and safety are first and foremost at the co-op, with fun a very close seconds. And another testimonial by Adam. This is a magical place. Attended my first Palmer Riverfest this year and had the time of my life. Met some incredible people, did the intro tandem canoe whitewater course, and I cannot speak highly enough of how great the instructors were. Professional, experienced, knowledgeable, and personable, which made the whole event fun and memorable. Can't wait to go back. Don't think twice about going here. Do it now. We have some pretty passionate folks who've come through the co-op and who've recognized the value in, by not focusing on profit or not focusing on sort of business as the first, or maybe money as the first priority, but social capital as the first and most important priority. It's pretty remarkable. It resonates with people in a way that extends beyond borders and boundaries. You can't really put a lid on it. And I know that even if we're unsuccessful in this campaign, and even if we lose the site that we're on, which I'm very doubtful that that's going to happen with the success that we've had so far and with how important it is. But even if that happens, the importance and magic of the co-op will continue going on. And I know for me, it's provided not only the opportunity for my family when I was a young kid to get out. We were a family of 7, by the way. I'm the youngest of 7. And so a family of 7 kids, 2 parents, taking a course with a single income before a trip, this was what we could afford. And it made it possible for us to do this trip, which kind of opened the door to me to, life in the wilderness. And next thing I know, a 12-year career so far. But the relationships, connections, and the people, that sense of community that happens at the co-op, I know is sort of the strongest thing. And so if nothing else, what I would love to sort of leave and wrap this presentation up with is the sense that if you are ever in Palmer Rapids, please stop by. If you are ever paddling the Madawaska River, please check in, because we'd love to see you. We'd love to say hi. We'd love to sort of share a paddle with you, or if you can make it for Palmer Fest, to come on down and check it out. And I think you'll really find something that you'll enjoy by just simply being with the people down in Palmer at the co-op. So I hope this was informative for everybody. I hope this was inspiring. I would love to see all of you that have the means to make a contribution. You can donate. I'm actually just going to put the link in the chat, so you can donate at sweethomepaddlercoop.reasley.com. And
I kind of beat you to it, Ryan.
oh, did you?
Yeah, I just posted
That's
it.
the way, right? Oh, there we go. I love it, Gary. And as well, if you'd love to learn more about our programs or come and take a course, this year, actually, it's kind of fascinating. We have a set of courses that are for river running, for folks doing river trips and going up north, and they're the most popular ones ever. So people who have experience with lake paddling and want to transition into river tripping, we have the River Running Review and Northern River Running. And both courses are 2-day courses, 1 day where you're doing skills and at Palmer Rapids, technical kind of focus, and then the next day going downriver doing 10 different sets of rapids. They've been super popular and really valuable. Folks have been coming out of them with a lot of confidence heading into their next trips, their upcoming trips. So that's been super cool. But I think that's it. I'd love to open the floor to some questions, answers, comments, thoughts, ideas. And I also just want to offer my gratitude to everybody for once again participating and being a part of the conversation here.
All right, Ryan, if you could stop. Yeah, there you go. You got it. Okay, we're back into everybody up there. Great. Thank you very much, Ryan. We'll field some questions now. So just turn on your camera and ask the question, I guess.
I'll lower my hand.
And also turn on
Okay.
your mic, I guess.
Hello, this is Mike Stewart. Thanks very much for the presentation, Ryan. Really appreciate it. I've been there. My wife and I did a course there a couple of years ago, and I've camped there, and it's a great place, and your instructors are fantastic. I wish you all the best, and I'll definitely figure something in the family budget to help out. Just wondering I'm sure you're going to be successful, but if you're not, what happens to the donations? I guess is one question I'd have. And then the other is just how's the management structure / board going to be going forward in terms of managing will it change at all or?
Yeah, super great question. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for thanks for coming and sharing your experience. So I'll start with the first one. I agree. I think we're going to be successful as well, but of course that's the elephant in the room, right? And so we're actually, if for whatever reason we cannot purchase the property, we are going to be returning funds. That's as simple as that. This is exactly what we're setting out to do. We're really confident in our plan to do so. And should we not be able to do that, then all the funds will be returned to the donors. We've got an amazing platform that it's literally the click of a button and away we go. So that's the first point. And the to that effect, I guess what I want to say is we're close to a really critical milestone here. So 150,000 is the bare minimum that we need to be able to finance the purchase. It's not sustainable within our budget long term. It's sustainable short term if that's what it takes. But the property from being sold to then carry on raising funds. So we'll continue to do that. So there's already a great contingency if that comes down to it. And then as far as management, so I have no intention of going anywhere. I've been the executive director here for 4 years. It's been a privilege. It's been a pain at times. It's been the best growth opportunity I've been afforded, and I can spend many days on the water. So I have every intention of continuing to do as I'm doing. And the board of directors, so we have a board of 7 directors right now, and it revolves on a 3-year cycle. So the longest a board member can be on is 2 3-year terms, so 6 years. And we've actually structured it such that every year or two, 1 or 2 board members is rolling over, but there's consistency from the 5 or 6 remaining. So we get that fresh blood in, we get those new perspectives, we get sort of, the things that were maybe tucked away in the corners brought to light or whatever the case may be. But we also have that consistency of sort of the more veteran or experienced board members helping to kind of train the newer ones.
Thanks. And I guess you are a registered charity?
We're not a registered charity, so we're a not-for-profit, which comes down to essentially when we were incorporated, the sort of purpose of the organization was not to primarily generate a profit. We can't actually return any profits to our owners or members or shareholders. If any surplus, it gets reinvested in. And to be honest, the only thing we've done with surplus so far is establish this reserve fund, which is going to be used for this. So unfortunately, we can't issue tax deductible receipts. We're working on partnering with the charity for the next phase of fundraising after this current deadline, so we can continue fundraising and knocking down that mortgage payment after this kind of first phase. But that's likely in the 6-month to year timeframe before we'll be ready for that.
Thanks. All the best.
Right on. Thanks, Mike.
All right, I think Dave had a question. Dave Skinner. Just turn your
Not so
mic on.
much.
There
Yeah,
we
it's not so much a question as just to say that I have a group of about 20 scout leaders that I deal with, and most of them have started out at Paddlers Co-op over the years. and you know, some of them already had some paddling experience, but a lot of them didn't. And over the last 10 years, probably 12 or 13 of them have run through the program that knew nothing about whitewater. And, you know, I'm the leader of the group kind of thing. And I've taken them to James Bay and the Blood Vein and whatever. And it's partially because of Ryan's, you know, excellent tutorage or whatever you want to call it. And at least 7 or 8 of them, I contacted them all, have sent some sort of donation. I haven't kept track of it, but, you know, we are grateful.
Thank you, Dave. And I think if anybody can speak to the affordability of the co-ops programs, I think Dave is a good person that that might be able to testify to that.
Well, yeah, because what you're charging my scouts this year, and I realize we're getting a deal. I priced MKC, they're double for the same thing. You know, I realize it's a bit more of an upscale facility and they're there to make a profit, but I couldn't get customers, you know, my scout parents to pay $838 for a weekend. It just isn't going to fly. But, you know, for what you're charging us, we're much happier. We good?
Is
quiet.
anybody else to have a question?
Yeah, I guess I've got a question, Ryan. Do you mind sharing who the current owners are and how do you arrive at the value and is there a likelihood that there'll be a bidding war of some sort for the property?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I think the value was proposed because of, and let's see, what was it? 2021. There was actually an offer made to purchase the property. So yeah, the current owner is Ernie Koulis, who is one of the former. He was a board for 15 years, and him and Lee Shaw, the one of the co-founders, Lee and Shauna, if anybody remembers those days. They bought the property because the co-op couldn't afford it. It needed a place. They, you know, bought it with the intention of leasing it to the co-op. And in 2021, an offer was made on it for, I believe it was something like $1.2 million. You know, Ernie came to me excited. He's like, I've got someone to buy the co-op. This is going to be great. Like, you know, they're willing to invest this, that, and the other. And when I learned a little bit more, I guess, about who it was, I quickly realized it was essentially a threat because it was somebody who wanted to operate a campground and it was somebody who wanted to run a business to make money. And thinking, as I do in my role as the leader of the organization, to sort of like the 5, 10, 20, 50-year horizon line ahead of us. At the end of our lease, we would be, you know, given the booth, the proof of concept would be there to run a campground on the Madawaska River, and away we go. You know, the co-op's gone, and they've got a private enterprise in place. So we lobbied really hard for that to happen. But all that to say, at that time, they brought 2 real estate agents in to appraise it, and the appraisals came back both at around $700,000 apiece. And so that was the offered price to us now this time around. And we actually sought a third-party appraisal. So we went to speak to our bank to say, hey, look, we're interested in purchasing, potentially purchasing the property that we've been operating on. And first off, is there any opportunity for lending? And is there any way that we can do this? And they said, yeah, let's take a look at your books. We showed them our books. They said, yeah, we can finance a mortgage. What's the asking price? Well, it's $700,000. Okay, we can do that. We need at least 20% down. It's going to double your mortgage payment. Okay, fair enough. Not ideal, but good to know. What do we need to get to make it more reasonable? Figured that out. And then what we actually asked them is to say, hey, like, if you were to get this property appraised, which I imagine would be a part of the purchase and mortgage process, who would you use? And so they suggested a third-party appraiser. So we actually had that appraiser come in, and they did an appraisal on the property, and it also came out at $700,000, which then provided us comfort on value as a board of directors that, you know, we were in fact getting an appropriate an appropriate number. We've spoken to people who feel like it's high. We've spoken to people who feel like it's a little low, and it feels reasonable, I guess.
Hi, Ryan. I'm just going to chime in with a question here. Just on the facilities, kind of going forward, will most of the focus be on maintenance and just preserving their current state, or do you have a sort of wish list and a plan for any kind of improvement? So just sort of the balance between pressures on maintenance versus the kind of things you'd love to see adding to the site or replacing anything you've got there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like we have a great vision of like what we'd love to see is sort of like a net zero facility, a leading facility in sort of ecotourism, and still an accessible place for people to come, gather, paddle, connect with other folks, and feel at home. And so, on the high end of the laundry list, it's a net zero facility, a shower house, actually like a restaurant and or bar, sort of food and the opportunity for entertainment on the weekends, things like that. Something kind of still low key and simple, but providing the sort of full range of services should people choose to, access those services. But if you just want to come and camp for $16 a night, you can do that too. And one of the reasons that we haven't been able to do that, and then of course, ongoing maintenance, better accommodations for staff, a retail storefront, the list sort of goes on and on. But one of the reasons that we haven't been able to do that, besides not owning the place and it not being feasible to invest, one of the things that this allows us to do now, owning it, is to access grant funding for projects like that. So capital grant funding to be able to make accessibility improvements, which we were fortunate enough to be able to do with our new accessible composting toilets through a grant. But now that we're actually going to be the rightful owners of that place, it opens up the door to multi-year grant funding opportunities to help with those capital projects.
Great, thank you.
All right, well, is there any more questions? Sounds like we're about to wrap up here. I'm just going to let everybody know that, yeah, the WCA is looking at donating some funds. The board had a meeting 2 weeks ago. We've been in discussions with Ryan and company, and everything's positive. We just got to work out the little details. But our plan is really to be more involved with, maybe having the fall gathering there, maybe some spring thing. We used to go to Palmer at July 1st weekend. So maybe instead of Jessup's, would be moving over to the co-op more, kind of like trying to bring some of our members into the loop there. And then simultaneously, we're there, people that are into tripping, because our club's basically tripping, combination of flat water, white water, but a tripping club. And I found that, we're always looking for the young folks, and they come out of camps and there's a void there. We start seeing them when they're like 40, 45, 50, etc. After kids or something. So there's like a void of between the 20 and the 40. We don't seem to attract those members as much. And maybe this is the ticket to find those members. So we're looking at like a win-win scenario where we'll, participate more in the co-op activities, and we'll bring some members to them, and hopefully we'll gain some members. So that's our kind of vision on the WCA side. And we want to support Ryan's co-op because it's, like you said, it's he's got a good vision that we want to maintain the access to the water and the facilities. So thanks very much, Ryan, for giving this presentation.
I see
You're very
Craig
welcome.
Johnson has
I
a
do see
hand up.
Craig
I wonder if
Johnson.
that's a question.
All right.
No, I just wanted to, I just wanted to comment on Gary's point there. I actually found out about the Wilderness Canoe Association, at the co-op for Palmer Fest last fall when I met Christopher Mayberry. So just to piggyback your point there, and I'm 26, so I'm in that demographic that you're looking for.
That's what
So
we're looking
really
for.
good opportunity. Yeah, if you can have people there that are able to sort of add some cross-functional advertising almost, I think that'd be beneficial for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things with the younger folks, they can still lift the boat. The advantage of having the 40 and plus, you know, some of our members are 60, 70, 75. They have been everywhere, you know, and they know the put-in, the takeout, the shuttle guy, the rail, the train, the airplane. So there's an advantage, you know, the older you are because you have that knowledge, and the younger people would gain from that knowledge. And of course, we've all been on the river where we see a 65-year-old whip right across a wave, and we're going, how did he do that? You know, because he has a skill over, you know, 40 years of his life or whatever. So that's one of the advantages. Anyways, thanks for saying that. That's great.
Case in point. Craig, you tick all the boxes.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. This Zoom is recorded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it into a YouTube video. And once it's there, you can share the link with your friends. That's the best way to get the message out. And I'll do that in the next day or so. So it should be there, I would say, by tomorrow. All right. So I guess we'll call it a wrap. Thanks, everybody, for showing up.
Thanks.
Thanks very much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Hope to see you on the water.
Thanks, Ryan.
Great presentation.
Thank you, Ryan.